morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. Today we are going to continue our chapter, that is Daffodils. So students, by the end of this video, you will be able to understand the concepts of the poem Daffodils composed by William Wordsworth. And you will be able to understand the themes, style and literary devices. So students, let's proceed further. Now, let's look at the various themes. The first and most important theme of the poem is nature, a source of eternal joy. So students, the poem brings home the idea that nature is a source of eternal joy. Nature is full of beauty that captivates us all the time. The beautiful objects of nature, flowers, plants, mountains, lakes, stars, the sun, the moon, so on and so forth, fill our minds with pleasure. So students, first of all, the meaning of the word eternal is never ending. Captivates means charms. So forth means onwards. So students, here the poet has given us the clear idea that nature is the best source of never-ending joy. It's not we human beings but nature that is God's greatest creation. Nature is full of blessings that captivate us all the time. The blessings in the form of trees, flowers, fruits, mountains, lakes, stars, etc. fill our minds with joy. In the poem Daffodils, it is the beautiful scene of the golden daffodils that mesmerized the poet. The daffodils growing near the lake appeared to be tossing their heads in a gentle breeze, as if in a dance, and the poet realized a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So here students, first of all, the meaning of the word mesmerized is hypnotized. Tossing means moving. And the word jocund means happy. So here students, in this poem, it is the beautiful scene of daffodils dancing in the breeze that has mesmerized and hypnotized the poet. It is clearly witnessed in the entire poem that nature truly has a power to heal. The poet himself admits that in the company of such beautiful scenes in nature, a creature like poet cannot help being happy. So let's proceed further. He continued to gaze at the beautiful sight, the real birth of which he realized only when he was removed far from it. He comes to realize that nature has the ability to soothe and delight us in our melancholy mood. The beautiful scene of the daffodils often flashes across his mind, and he feels as if his heart were dancing in joy with the dancing daffodils. So students, here the word gaze means stare, worth means value, soothe, calm, melancholy means sad, flashes, shines. So here students, in these lines, the poet says that he continued gazing at the beautiful daffodils for a long time. The memory was so vivid and delightful that just recalling the sight of daffodils filled the poet's heart with pleasure whenever he was in a sad mood. So children, the another theme of poem is that Nature possesses the healing power. So this poem shows how nature has the power to heal our stressed soul. If we care to turn to nature, we are amazed to find wonderful sights such as the one described in the poem Daffodils. The concluding stanza makes it clear that a beautiful sight in nature is capable of removing any stress and gloom from our minds. The poet says that whenever he is in a sad or idle mood, the beautiful scene of daffodils fills his mind with pleasure. This is what we feel in the lap of nature. So here students, the meaning of the word heal is cure. Stressed means burdened. Amazed, surprised. The word gloom means sorrow and idle means lazy. So here students, the concluding stanza makes it clear that a beautiful scene that we may have seen and the memory of that has the capability of removing any kind of stress. We feel a motherly love in the lap of nature by simply gazing at the stars, sitting under a shady trees, sunshine, etc. We forget all our pains and sorrows, but however, we do have time for this beautiful nature. Students, let's proceed further. By just looking at the starry sky, the rising or setting sun, a garden, birds, and trees, we forget all our wheels and woes. But sadly, we have now no time for nature. So the meaning of the word starry is full of stars, wheels, wounds, and the meaning of woes is sorrows. So students here, by simply gazing at the stars or sitting under the shady trees or sunshine, etc., we forget all our pains and sorrows. However, we do not have time for this beautiful nature. Now let's proceed further. In his sonnet, "The world is too much with us," Wordsworth laments that we have dissociated ourselves from nature in the pursuit of material things. The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away a sordid boon. So here students, first of all, sonnet means a poem of 14 lines. And the word lament means express grief or sorrow. Dissociated means separated, and pursuit means the act of chasing. The meaning of sordid, worst aspect of human nature. And the word boon means blessing. So students, here the poet laments the withering connection between humankind and nature. We are always rushing from one thing to the next. We earn money one day just to spend it the next. The result of this is that we have destroyed a vital part of our humanity. We have lost the ability to connect with and find tranquility in the nature. So students, thus the poet states that human beings are too preoccupied with the material and have lost the touch with the spiritual and with the nature. Now students, let's proceed further that how the Daffodils is a nature poem. So here it is obvious to say that Daffodils is a nature poem. In this poem, we note how the poet's mind receives the impression from his chance meeting with a host of golden daffodils growing under the trees beside the bank of a lake. The flowers were swaying in the breeze. Enchanted by the beautiful scene, the poet compares them to the twinkling stars in the Milky Way. The pleasant encounter with the daffodils remains etched in his mind. This has the capacity to make him calm and happy in his melancholy or idle mood. So here, students, the meaning of the word swaying is moving, enchanted, charmed, encounter, come across, etched, carved, melancholy, sad, and the word idle means lazy. So here, students, the poem Daffodils is an example of the expression of the poet's love of nature. From the very first line of the poem to the end, the poet shows this love. So one day, he continued gazing at beautiful daffodils for a long time, and the memory was so vivid and delightful that just recalling the sight of daffodils filled the poet's heart with pleasure whenever he was in a sad mood. Now, students, we will do reality versus utopia. Utopia means perfect place. So let's read it. The poem has a clear shift from the real world full of tensions, wheels, and woes to the utopian world of nature where peace and happiness prevail. The very opening line, I wandered lonely as a cloud, shows the poet's sense of loneliness, which was marked by the death of his brother John, which was not pleasant. There is then a sudden shift to the world of nature in which beautiful flowers capture his attention and he is transported to another world of bliss. So students, the meaning of the word wheels is wounds, woes means sorrows, utopian, perfect. The meaning of the word prevail is exist, and the word bliss means joy. So here, students, in this poem, we can observe a clear shift from the real world, which is full of worries and sorrows, to the beautiful world, which is perfect, where there is peace and happiness. The opening line, I wandered lonely as a cloud, reflects the poet's loneliness, which was because of the death of his brother John. It was not pleasant. However, when he saw the beautiful daffodils, his mind was diverted and he was carried to a different world which was full of joy. So students, there is a shift from a world full of sorrow to a world full of joy. So let's proceed further. In the last stanza, the poet takes us back to the real world in which one cannot escape from day-to-day worries and stresses. But now he realizes the true worth of the beautiful sight. His mind regains calm and poise when it recalls the dance of the daffodils in a kind of utopia. So students, the meaning of the word stresses is tension, regains, recovers, poise means control, and utopia means perfect place. So here, students, in the last stanza, the poet again refers to a time in a real world when he is lying on the couch in a sad or pensive mood. It is clear that we cannot escape worries, sadness in the real world. But the poet emphasizes the fact that we can attain calm and poise when we recall a beautiful sight of nature like the sight of dancing daffodils. Now let's proceed to the next part, that is style. So here students, what is the form here? The poem is a lyric. So now what do you mean by lyric? Lyric is a short subjective poem that deals with one single emotion. It is often musical. Some lyrics can actually be sung. So students, it gives expression to a single emotion or feeling of joy in nature. Like a true lyric, it is not complex. It appeals more to the heart than to the intellect. Then it is quite short and musical. So here students, like a lyric, Daffodils deals with the poet's feeling. It is short and musical also. Now students, let's start with literary devices. So, the first literary device here is personification. So first of all, the question arises, what do you mean by personification? So students, personification means attributing human qualities to a non-living thing. Like, when all at once I saw a crowd. Here you can see that this is a personification, as daffodils are being called a crowd here, which is a human attribute. Similarly, in the line, a host of golden daffodils, here the poet has used the word host, which is again a personification, and the word host is used for human beings. In order to convey all inherent unity between man and nature, Wordsworth compares himself to a cloud, an object of nature, while he humanizes the daffodils by using the words a crowd and a host for them. Next example, as the poet has used fluttering and dancing in the breeze, and the waves beside them danced. Now students, can you imagine the daffodils can flutter and dance? No, these are the qualities of animate objects like birds and human beings, which are attributed to the daffodils here. Thus, the poet uses the personification here. Let's proceed to the second literary device, that is simile. Simile refers to some similarity between two persons or things, explicitly stated by the word like or as. As the poet has used, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Students, this is a simile, as the poet's loneliness here is compared to the loneliness of a cloud. And secondly, here the poet uses as to show the comparison. So, this is a simile. So students, the poet compares his idle wanderings to that of a cloud over hills and valleys. Let's take one more example. Continues as the stars that shine. So students, the poet then compares the beauty of the daffodils with that of the twinkling stars in the sky. Now this is again a simile. The poet compares the beauty of daffodils with the beauty of stars twinkling in the sky. And moreover, the poet has used here as, so this is a simile. Now students, let's proceed with the structure. So the poem is divided into 4 stanzas, each having 6 lines with the rhyme scheme of AB, AB, CC. So let's understand it by taking an example of one stanza. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Now students, here you can see the word cloud of the first line rhymes with the last word of the third line, that is crowd. So we will consider this sound as A. Similarly, the word hills in the second line rhymes with the word daffodils in the fourth line, so we will consider it as B. And the word trees rhymes with the word breeze, so we will consider it as C. So the rhyme scheme used here is A, B, A, B, C, C. The same rhyme scheme is used in the next stanzas. Now students, the next literary device is alliteration, which means the close repetition of consonant sounds in a single line of a poem. For example, I gazed and gazed but little thought. So here you can see the repetition of the consonant sound G. So this is an alliteration. Now let's proceed to the next literary device, that is inversion. So first of all, inversion means inverting of the normal word order in a sentence or a phrase. The poets use inversion to maintain the rhyme scheme in the poem or to emphasize a specific word in prose. So students, here the poet has used inversion to maintain the rhyme scheme in the poem. For example, for oft when on my couch I lie. So here it is an inversion, as the correct order should be I lie on my couch. Let's take one more example. 10,000 saw I at a glance. Now again this is an inversion, as the correct order here should be I saw at a glance. Now students, the next literary device is hyperbole, which means an exaggeration of something normal. For example, here you can see in this example we have used 10,000 saw I at a glance. The poet has not actually seen 10,000 daffodils. He is exaggerating to show that he saw a large number of daffodils. So he uses hyperbole here. Now let's proceed to the next literary device, that is metaphor. So first of all, what do you mean by metaphor? It refers to the close likeness between two persons or objects implied and not stated openly. For example, as the poet has used, what wealth the show to me had brought. The joy the poet has received on seeing daffodils is compared to wealth without using the words as or like. So, this is a metaphor. Let's take one more example. They flash upon that inward eye. Here again, you can see that this is a metaphor, as the poet has implied a comparison here. An inward eye refers to the memory. So students, this was all about the literary devices. Your homework is revise the two themes that we have done. Thank you students. Have a nice day.